Welcome, kia ora, talofa lava, bulavanaka, Māori, mojorang. You alright? Hello, malo lele, talofa, hello, hello, hello. And welcome to the 2024 Commonwealth Short Story Prize. O lo'o ingoa Selina Tusitala Marsh. Tusitala is the Samoan Tuvaluan word for storyteller, and I hail from the beautiful islands of Samoa and Tuvalu, among others. I'm thrilled to be your host for this year's award ceremony. I'm hosting you all from the beautiful island of Oahu in Hawaii, who are hosting the 13th Festival of Pacific Arts and Culture. 11 Commonwealth Islands are member nations, which include Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, Fiji, Kiribati, Nauru, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. I greeted you in their languages, so welcome, welcome, welcome. It's my absolute pleasure to host our award ceremony and celebrate one of the most powerful expressions of the arts we have, storytelling. From every corner of the Commonwealth, we come together to celebrate the creativity and talent of our outstanding writers. Today, we celebrate the 5 regional winners and crown the overall winner. Here's a sneak peek at what we have in store for you today. Don't forget to join the conversation on social media using our hashtag CWPrize. And please tag us in your posts and give us a shout out in the chat. We can't wait to hear from you. The Commonwealth is a unique organisation. It's the only one of its kind to bring so many of us together. 56 countries, in fact. The Commonwealth Short Story Prize is a global phenomenon. Just look at how many of us are gathered here from all around the world to cheer on our talented writers. But there's more to this prize than its international reach. It's also one of the world's most inclusive. It's free to enter, open to citizens from all 56 Commonwealth countries, and accepts entries in 13 languages. The prize is so open because we know there are talented, passionate storytellers in every corner of the Commonwealth. This year, your passion shone through. We received an astounding, record-breaking 7,359 entries. We saw many more records broken this year. We received more entries from Malta, Rwanda, Pakistan, and the Solomon Islands than in any other. Each and every story submitted was carefully read by our dedicated team of readers. From there, 187 exceptional stories were longlisted and sent to our esteemed panel of judges, who faced the challenging task of selecting the shortlist. Last year, I was the 2023 Pacific Judge, and I'm strangely delighted to say that it was a harrowing experience. The competition was that tough, and for me, the ultimate litmus test was this. If the story woke me up the next morning, if the story followed me at lunch, if the story made me laugh or gasp at dinner and haunted me at night, it made my shortlist. I was looking for stories I hadn't encountered before. Stories that made my blood tingle and my imagination throb. Stories that grabbed me by the heart and shook me to the core. And if the story wouldn't let me go, then it made my shortlist. This year's panel are Jennifer Nansobuga Makumbi, the chair, Kalitso Mopai from Africa, Otian Chin from Asia, Shashi Bhatt from Canada and Europe, Richard Georges from the Caribbean, and Melissa Lukashenko from the Pacific. The judges selected a shortlist of 23 that again broke new ground. 22 of the writers had never been shortlisted before, and writers from Rwanda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Mauritius were featured on a shortlist for the very first time. From the shortlist of 23 stories, the judges selected 5 outstanding regional winners. Rina Usharangu from Africa, Sanjana Thakur from Asia, Julie Bouchard from Canada and Europe, enriched by the translation skills of Ariel Aronson, Portia Subran from the Caribbean, and Pip Robertson from the Pacific. Get ready to cheer, because each regional winner doesn't just take home a cash prize of £2,500, but also gets a full online membership to the prestigious London Library. And for our grand champion of the evening, the overall winner, it's an even bigger win, with a whopping £5,000 prize and a 2-year full membership to the London Library. Huge thanks to our incredible partners at the London Library for their ongoing generosity, granting our winners both in-person and remote access to their treasure trove of over 1 million books and manuscripts. Now, without further ado, let's give a warm welcome as we introduce this year's regional winners. Rina Usharangu from Mauritius is the regional winner for Africa, with her story, Dite. Let's meet her now.
I'm Usha Rinarangu. I currently live in Boston, in the United States. I'm originally from Mauritius, from the south of the country, from a small village called Suyak. I think where I come from influences my writing quite a bit. And it's also, I think, the fact that I left where I came from. And it's a bit of a slice of my life from decades ago that probably doesn't exist anymore. And there's a way in which I try to capture that, but from the perspective of someone who doesn't live there anymore, who's a little unfamiliar with the culture there now. I think the reason I wrote the story is to open up a dialogue with my fellow Mauritians, to be able to talk about things that are still uncomfortable, and mostly how we treasure or don't treasure our national heritage in terms of our language. It's a very fragmented story. It's just 4 fragments, right? 4 snapshots of the lives of these women. So I use the excuse of tea to bring in all the themes I want to. So tea is at the background of each snapshot, because tea is something that as Mauritians we all enjoy. It's baked into our everyday rituals. So is sugar. These are things we enjoy without thinking about the origins. But of course, Mauritius is founded on plantations, so sugarcane plantations, tea plantations, and on slavery and indenture. And so the origins of tea and sugar are quite violent. And so it is with language, right? With the languages we speak. I think it's a beautiful thing that Mauritians can code switch between English, French, Creole, Bhojpuri, Urdu, like all kinds of languages. But it's a shame that there's a hierarchy of languages, right? So I think with my story, I wanted to bring out the beauty of this creolized society that make us what we are, right? But also speak to the violence that gave birth to all of that. And I was trying to do it in a way that doesn't hold any contradiction between the pleasures and the violence. 2 pieces of advice that I've been given as a writer and that I've retained is, first, to read widely, as many genres from as many places as possible. And the second piece of advice, which I think I needed quite a bit, is to just write and to know that writing and editing are two different processes. So when you're writing, just let it flow out, and then you'll have time to process it, to edit it, to polish it before putting it out in the world. And I think that liberated me quite a bit.
The 2024 Commonwealth Short Story Prize was quite exciting for me. The stories from all the regions brought different outlooks on life as we know it, and it was such an honor to delight in the creativity. In the Africa region, the 5 shortlisted stories were dug from different countries, and as such, they brought fresh and unique perspectives. The winning title, D-Day, caught my attention from the very first time I read it. D-Day is honest, it's brave, D-Day is enthralling, and it's quite informative. The writing manages to encompass the protagonist's life in short story form, from childhood to adulthood, and alongside her love for tea. D-Day shows skill. D-Day shows knowledge about the difficult subject matter that is colonialism and its effects on generations. And here is Usha Rinarangu reading from her brilliant short story, D-Day.
Back home on her island, household altars were commonplace, erected in a special room in the house or assembled in a dedicated corner of the living room. Some altars housed statues and images of goddesses, garlanded with flowers. Others held pungent incense and the photographs and personal belongings of dear departed ones. Irreverently, Durga liked to think that her boxes and tins of tea, fragrant and framed by a pell-mell of old teapots and chipped mugs, were her altar.
Congratulations, Rina. Now let's meet the regional winner for Asia, Sanjana Thakur. Her story is Aishwarya Rai.
My name is Sanjana Thakur and I'm from Mumbai, India. I've lived in a lot of different cities. I grew up in Mumbai, I went to high school in Dubai, I went to college in Boston, and now I'm here in Austin, Texas. Obviously, I draw from the immediate surroundings in the sense that I notice people, I notice details, and those make their way into my work. But the way that my current city helps me write is that it's not Bombay. I find it very difficult to write about a place when I'm in it. I find it much easier to write about a place when I'm at a distance from it. And so when I'm not in Mumbai, I can write about Mumbai. And when I am in Mumbai, I find it very difficult to write about Mumbai. So just by being in Austin, I find that I have easier access to writing about Bombay. So the story is called Aishwarya Rai. It's a story about mothers and daughters. I think it's really a story about like the push and pull between mothers and daughters, this sort of sense of like care and desire, but also resentment and frustration, how that relationship is fraught but necessary. It's about bodies, coming of age. I do think that storytelling traditions differ in every place you go to, right? Like storytelling in non-Western countries tends to have a strong oral tradition and tends to have less of a typical Western structure of like the beginning, middle, end. Those are useful constructs to think about as you're starting to write. But once you realize that that's not everything, that that's a portion of literature, but everything else is also literature, it opens up a lot of possibility. And so when it comes to Indian literature, I think I read a lot of it, but I also draw on a lot of Hindu mythology in my writing. Part of me developing my style and arriving at the place I am now is having the realization that literature is much broader than the Western tradition of literature, that you can look to other traditions as well, that you can look to the traditions of your country as well and draw from that and give yourself freedom to know that different readers will have different levels of access to your work, and that's okay.
Hi, a good day to all of you. I'm O Tiam Chin from Singapore. I'm the Asian judge for the 2024 Commonwealth Short Story Prize. It has been a tremendous experience reading the stories for the prize. There is so much savor in this year's entries. Stories that show us the very specific way we live, the worlds we come from, the real issue we face. Story rich with details, brimming with heat and heart. Stories that are representative of diverse voices and experience. I fell madly in love with Sanjana Thakur, Ashira Rai, right from the opening line. It's a brilliant, skillfully crafted story that gripped me from start to end and made me laugh at its absurdity and dark humor. I reread it immediately after to confirm that the story is no fluke, but a genuine, heartfelt story of a young woman searching for an ideal mother, seeking to find a connection. Honest and moving, the story shines a light on the age-old struggle of people trying to discover what family means. It examines the fragile, indelible bond between children and parents, heartbreaks and moments of intimacy. It shows the deep loneliness of people pining for some meaning in life and for someone to love. Sanjana's story speaks directly to this urgency, to this desperate longing. And so it's with immense pleasure that I invite you to read and fall in love with Ashira Rai. Here's Sanjana Thakur reading an excerpt from her beautiful story.
How old are you? Third mother asks 1 week into living together. She's opened the small kitchen window for ventilation while she fries bhindi in hot mustard oil. Through the metal bars, Avni can see the alley and past it into the balconies of the building next door. In the early mornings, they are parrot perches, and in the afternoons, drying racks. In the nights, smoke spots for fathers, sons, rebel daughters. 23, Avni replies. You? 37, she says. The bhindi crackles. You look much older, says Avni, surprised. It must be all the grief. Third mother wears salwars on weekdays and saris on weekends and tries on short dresses from Avni's cupboard when Avni isn't home. She marks her parting with sindoor and has long, butt-length hair that Avni pulls from between her teeth at mealtimes and out the shower drain each week. Her eyes are deeply lined.
Whawhetai tele lava, thank you, Sanjana. The journey of selecting just 5 winners from a staggering 7,359 submissions is no small feat. And our judges truly understand the weight of this task. Now, let's introduce you to the incredible chair of the judges, Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi. This Ugandan-British novelist and short story writer led the international panel of judges. Jennifer knows firsthand what it's like to be a writer submitting to the prize, having been the overall prize winner in 2014. She brings a unique perspective and empathy to the judging process, having walked the path of an aspiring writer herself.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Nansubuga-Makumbi, and I was the chair of the judging panel for 2024. Now, the judging process evolved along the way. For example, in the beginning, the stories were read by a group of people, and they weighted the 7,000 something down to 200. Now, that 200 was brought to us, the judging panel, and each story was read by 3 different judges, indicating yes, maybe, no, and giving their reasons for their decisions. Now, using their decisions, I whittled the list down to 58, and then I sent the stories back. But then we met online and we discussed to bring the stories down to the 23 that formed the shortlist. Now, after the shortlist, of course, we went back and read a little bit more. And then we met again. But this time when we met, we voted using the elimination process. So in order to determine the regional winners, the last story standing in each region became the regional winner. And we did the same for the global winner. We took all those regional winners and we started to vote again until we came to the last short story standing, and that became the overall winner. Now, on behalf of the judging panel, I'd like to thank everybody who submitted. We enjoyed the stories, and you can't imagine the heartbreak and the jubilations we had during the processes. Now, I'd like to introduce to you Julie Bouchard, the regional winner for Europe and Canada, for her short story, What Burns, which was translated from French by Ariel Aronson.
My name is Julie Bouchard, and I'm from Montreal, Quebec, where I live my life in French, and I write in French too. I start writing in my 20s when I went to University of Aix-en-Provence in France. I was in a student exchange, and I guess my passion for literature started there. I think what's most important for me before writing, it's reading, because reading draws me to writing. I think the book who started everything for me is a book by French author Romain Gary, and the title is La vie devant soi. I read this book when I was 16, and it changed everything for me. I'm not sure if I pick my characters or if they pick me, but most of the time it starts with a single sentence with no character in it. And after that, I don't know how or why one character arrives, and the second one arrives, and the third one arrives, and they form a kind of, I guess, a family in the story. I think my writing process is resting on two main pillars. And the first one is a quote by visual artist named Anna Eva Bergman, who asserted that the true secret of art lies not in the will to create, but in allowing something to be created through oneself. So I'm really inspired by that. The second one is based on insights by American writer George Saunders. As he says in A Swim in the Pond in the Rain, a book I hold dear, Saunders encapsulates his vision by saying concisely, my writing process is mainly two things. First, intuition. Second, iteration. From all these intuition, I would say I work in a quasi-obsessive manner on each sentence, trying to strive a kind of balance between inner and outer perspectives.
There were 7,359 stories submitted to the 2024 Commonwealth Short Story Prize. Think about that, more than 7,000 stories. Once the long list was determined, each of us judges read, critiqued, and discussed about 150 stories. We didn't always agree. But to write a story and have it consistently stand out to a panel of 5 people from around the world with different cultural backgrounds and reading preferences, that story is doing something right. The shortlisted pieces from the Canada and Europe region didn't necessarily have all that much in common aside from their quality. One story was subtle, sensitive, and restrained. Another was energetic and audacious. One story was written with painstaking realism. Another read like a fable. Out of all the stories from this region, Julie Bouchard's What Burns rose to the top of the list. It is a profoundly intelligent, fiercely original piece that takes 3 disparate incidents and connects them through the central image of burning. The narrative twists and widens to evoke a world on fire. From the beginning, this story stood out to me for its momentum, confidence, intricate structure, and agile prose. It's a story that trusts its reader and invites interpretation. It is purposeful, deft, and utterly surprising. I'm very happy to introduce Julie Bouchard reading a short extract from What Burns.
First burns the boreal forest up in the north. A little south of that burns the woman. Around her burn a tortoise, a pair of Siamese cats, 2 cage birds, a dozen mice, and 7 other people whom misfortune trapped inside the 19th century heritage building. What a tragedy.
Malo lava, and thank you, Ariel, for your invaluable translation skills. Just a reminder to everyone, our prize accepts translations and we absolutely love working with translators. Now, before we meet our remaining regional winners, let's catch up with last year's overall winner, Kwame McPherson, who joins us now from Jamaica.
Hi, I am Kwame McPherson, Commonwealth Short Story Prize winner 2023 for the Caribbean region and globally, the first Jamaican to win this prestigious award internationally. It has been a phenomenal journey, phenomenal experience, a lot of media attention in regards to my writing, TV, radio, newspapers. I've also had the opportunity as a guest of the Royal Commonwealth Society to be invited to Buckingham Palace, met Queen Camilla, and we had a few words there. Actually, I also have a lot of invitational partnerships coming up and mainly a lot of work to do in Africa. I'm looking forward to that, mainly Zambia, Botswana, and South Africa, where there's potential for more workshops and seminars to do. I also had a lot of interest from publishers and agents in regards to longer pieces, so I have to be writing away. And you'll be seeing those in the near future from novels that I am writing. And I'm also doing stuff outside of writing itself, and so I've been invited to be a part of the Black River Film Festival, international film festival taking place here in Jamaica later this month, and I'm also a part of the Diaspora Conference, the Jamaican-wide Diaspora Conference, and another international conference taking place here in the middle of the month. But it has been a phenomenal journey. And I'm excited. I'm also excited for those who are finalists for this year. And with that said, I would like to introduce Portia Sobran, the Caribbean regional winner for her story, The Devil's Son.
My name is Portia Subran, and I am from Chaguanas in Trinidad and Tobago. Growing up in Chaguanas has influenced my writing a lot. Since my great-grandparents came to Trinidad as indentured laborers, 4 generations of Subrans have lived in Chaguanas. And from the stories of my parents, my aunts, and my uncles, I saw that Chaguanas is always a place that is in flux. The short stories and poems that I write are mostly set in Chaguanas during the 1900s and today, and it reflects its ever-changing landscape. A lot of old talk and conversations have infiltrated this story, but one memorable moment I have as a child, current had cut off, and while we were waiting for TNTech to come and give us back the lights, my father told us the story of how electricity first came to Chaguanas. They were shown a film called 50 Acres, and it was to illustrate how their lives were going to change. and he spoke to me how incredible it was to see these things for the first time. So I wanted to replicate that experience in this story. If I met my characters, I think I'd be more interested in listening to what they had to say rather than speaking with them. So I've gotten 2 very useful pieces of writing advice. Last year I met with 2 Caribbean poets and I expressed to them my fear that I'm writing and no one is interested in what I'm writing. And one of the poets said, "Doesn't matter, just write it." And the other poet said, "The people who you think are going to read this, they are not the ones who are going to read this." So for me, it really eliminates a lot of self-doubt. And it also tells me that, I should just write, and the right people who will be interested in reading my work, they will find my work. I hope that readers take away from this story a sense of place and time, also a comparison of community, past and present. And I'd also like for readers to think about the relationship between electricity and superstition.
Hi, my name is Richard Georges, and I had the pleasure of serving as the Caribbean judge for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize. This year, the Caribbean region submitted numerous stories of outstanding technical quality, and there were some unifying themes that I was able to observe, particularly themes of parenthood, themes regarding the supernatural, elements of post-colonial realities across the territories and jurisdictions of the region. And I think in addition, what I enjoy seeing was a number of entries from some of the smaller islands that we don't often hear from in the canon of Caribbean literature. In addition, I think there were the elevation of other narratives and other issues that aren't usually at the forefront. And I was really pleased to see that there was that level of not just awareness, but interest in elevating those other narratives and experiences outside of the stereotypical Caribbean experience. The story, The Devil's Son by Portia Subran, set itself apart primarily in our treatment of the supernatural and sort of framing it in the historical period, 1950s Trinidad, where the advent of electricity in Chaguanas sorts of creates a dichotomy, an opposition, if you will, of the religious hegemony sort of in opposition to the advancement of the people. It's a quite interesting story. The language also plays an important role, and her very careful adoption of a particular regional Creole of Trinidad English made the story quite resonant and authentic, if I could say so. For me, I really appreciated, all of her ability to sort of combine these different elements and create a very robust and multi-layered story. And it's one that comes of focusing on personal trauma, but it has this broad awareness of a wider context and utilizing a very accessible language of the commoner, if you will. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Portia Subran reading an excerpt of The Devil's Son.
Mommy thanked Brother Lal. Wait for him to leave, then tell me to bring Isaac from the back of the house. He was there, staring into a huge puddle from all the rain the nights before. The water was tea-colored, stained from the leaves that would continuously fall into it. Isaac's hair was slicked back with a dollop of petroleum jelly, he hand caressing the water, fingers sieving for inky tadpoles. He touched his chin for a moment, a bristle of adolescent hair now emerging. When I called for him, He look up, doe-eye at me, but I pull him up rough and haul him over by maga shoulders to stand in front of Mommy. I lean against the wall, my ropey arms cross over my chest, waiting for she to let Isaac have it.
Whawhitai te lava, thank you, Portia. Our final regional winner for the Pacific is Pip Robertson from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Her story is A River, Then the Road.
Kia ora, I'm Pip Robertson. I come from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I live in Wellington, or Te Whanganui Atara. Where I live is really important to my writing. From my house and where I write, I can see helicopters landing on a hospital roof, I can hear my kids' school, and I can just walk down 2 minutes and be among bars and cafes and bookstores. Or I can walk 2 minutes in the other direction and be all alone with my dogs in regenerating bushland. So both of those things, I think, play into my writing, the kind of busyness of human connections and also then our connection with nature and the natural world. My story is called A River and Then the Road, and it's about power and powerlessness. There isn't one particular moment or scene that came to me as the sort of spark for this story, but I almost always have at least one dog within arm's reach of me when I'm writing, and dogs find their way into my stories, including this one. I think the close connection we have with animals, but also conversely just how unknowable they are, is something that's really fascinating to me. Like I think most writers, the time that I have to actually sit in a dedicated way at my desk or at my computer and write is really limited. So I do a lot of editing in my head. I'm quite good at retaining my stories and working on them in my head when I'm doing other things. So that might be something like a character's name, or it might be something like a plot point or a line of dialogue that comes to me. This is actually quite frustrating that I don't have more time, but I think conversely, it means that my stories develop quite slowly, and I think that makes them stronger. So my advice to people who are starting out writing is maybe just when you think a story's done, put it aside for a while, let it roll around in your head, because there actually might be more that you can add to that story that will make it richer and deeper. The most useful advice that I've been given, and one that I just use all the time, is to read your writing out loud. Dialogue is really important for me in my stories and for me as a reader, and I think reading your work out loud is the only way to really get naturalistic dialogue that follows the rhythm of a real conversation. I'm a really slow writer, and I've been writing slowly for a long time now, so it's a great feeling to have a story that has obviously connected with people, and I'm really excited that it's finding a wider audience, and really privileged to be in this position.
Jingiwala, hello. My name's Melissa Lukashenko, and I'm speaking to you from the unceded lands of the Bundjalung Nation in New South Wales. Some of the common themes that stuck out from the shortlisted stories from the Pacific region was many child protagonists, as in the competition overall, but more generally in the Pacific, that voices of the vulnerable or the hidden were present. A River Then the Road is a clear yet unsentimental depiction of how poverty and divorce affects some children in Aotearoa, New Zealand. The point of view is that of the protagonist, Alexis, moving fast from girlhood into pubescence. It shows what her age, gender and class mean to her as she tries to negotiate her father's fragile mental health as well as his homelessness. This story took me back to a time when I was barely out of childhood, confronted with a world where some men are powerful without having the maturity to use that power wisely, being forced to make decisions about survival that children shouldn't have to. This voice is perfectly realised and is a major part of Why a River Then the Road was selected as the regional winner. Congratulations to Pip Robinson and indeed to all the shortlisted entrants.
In bad weather, they went to a motel. In good weather, they went camping, meaning they slept in a station wagon with the seats down flat in a car park at a forest or beach. Their dad had a little gas stove for instant noodles, and at the supermarket he let them get whatever else they wanted, sweets and chips and sugary drinks, saying that he bet their mum never let them have that stuff. It was true, she didn't, but Alexis shrugged and said, sometimes. On the camping weekends, even Ben knew better than to tell their mum exactly where they'd slept and what they'd eaten. On the train home, Alexis brushed their hair and made Ben copy her, rubbing toothpaste on his teeth. For Ben, the camping was all still fun, with the boundless choice in the supermarket, not washing, peeing against a tree and sleeping in his clothes. Alexis increasingly dreaded the awkwardness of having nowhere private to get changed, how the car filled up with the smell of their breath, the corrosive feeling in her mouth after all the sugar and salt.
Kia ora koe and thank you, Pip. And a massive congratulations to our incredible regional winners. Through their achievements, these regional writers have underscored how the environment we live in fuels our creative expression. I can't stress enough how each of the authors you've heard today shines as a true winner. Our judges, hailing from every corner of the Commonwealth, embarked on an intense journey of reading, discussing and rereading to select the overall winner of the 2024 Commonwealth Short Story Prize. The big question now is, who will it be? Rina Usha Rungu, Sanjana Thakur, Julie Bouchard, Portia Subran, Pip Robertson. The overall winner of the 2024 Commonwealth Short Story Prize is Sanjana Thakur. Congratulations, Sanjana. Here's the chair of the judges, Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi, telling her the good news earlier.
Well, Sanjana, I think you're going to be happier again, because I'm delighted to inform you that you are the overall winner.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for submitting to us, for sharing your story.
I really feel like this is too lucky and too much, and I'm so grateful.
You are it.
Thank you. I can't believe this.
Our warmest congratulations to you and to all this year's regional winners. It's been a privilege to read your stories. Congratulations too to the shortlisted writers whose stories will be available to read on Ada, the Commonwealth Foundation's online literary magazine, this summer. Now let's hear from Dr. Anne Gallagher, AO, the Director General of the Commonwealth Foundation, the organisation responsible for establishing and funding the Short Story Prize.
It is my immense pleasure to congratulate Sanjana Thakur, this year's overall winner of the Commonwealth Short Story Prize. Sanjana, your story's keen observations on family and urban life have captivated readers and judges alike, demonstrating a universal appeal. Your creativity and sense of humour are unmistakable in your writing, and you have every reason to be immensely proud of this well-deserved achievement. Please also join me in celebrating our regional winners and the thousands of participants who poured their hearts into their submissions. Your stories, imbued with the spirit of diverse cultures and experiences, showcase the extraordinary talent flourishing right across our Commonwealth. Every year, a special thanks is owed to our judging panel. Their discerning eyes and their open minds and hearts are essential to the success of the prize. Thank you, judges, for sifting through countless narratives to honour the very best among them. At the Commonwealth Foundation, we believe that storytelling is vital. It is a beacon of hope, a bridge across generations, and a catalyst for empathy and understanding. It is through stories that we preserve our histories, share our dreams, and build a shared future. Each story is a mirror and a window, reflecting our own experiences while opening vistas into the lives of others. By sharing our stories, we forge deeper connections, enhance our understanding, and celebrate the vibrant diversity that makes the Commonwealth such a unique and treasured community. In short, stories truly have the power to create change. So here's to the storytellers, the dreamers, and the voices that echo through time. Thank you.
Please don't forget, submissions for the 2025 Commonwealth Short Story Prize will be open from September the 1st, 2024. So, make sure you send us your stories. We'd love to read them, and the world is waiting to hear them. On behalf of the Commonwealth Foundation and our friends and partners at Granta, the London Library, and Paper and Ink, we wish you and your loved ones a happy and healthy year to come. We'll see you next year. Ia manawia laumalanga, may your journeys be blessed.